Morning all, how are we doing? Morning Ian, morning Amy, Peter, Kennelly, Prince, Baggy, Danny, Figinia. I'm going to say a different name one day, you watch. Day Trader, JC, Andres, Monkey, AZ, how are we doing? Excuse me. It's Thursday, back from the gym. This morning, we have had some news for the GDP for the pound, and we've got CPI today for the US dollar. So big day ahead today. Morning Marco, morning Peter. So just going to recap FOMC to start the morning with, because we had obviously the FOMC meeting minutes last night. Impact on the US was quite minimal. If you look at something like Euro US dollar, you'll see the price action. So oops, all we had pretty much yesterday in FOMC was, well, it's virtually nothing. It was 9 o'clock chart time, which is there. So nothing really happened. The upshot of last night was pretty much as we suspected, business as usual. So if we go back and find it, there we are. Risks of achieving the goals have become two-sided. Basically, we might get target, we might not get target for inflation within the time frame we've anticipated. Longer lag effects from finance tightening. We may have to keep rates stable for longer. Participants noted the balance sheet. I don't really worry about the balance sheet. Below trend growth, GDP, not quite as high as we expected it to be. Data volatility, potential data revisions, for extending additional tightening, keeping rates where they are. So there was nothing in there that said anything about increasing rates, nothing in there that said anything about decreasing rates. It was all like, it will be data driven, the usual crap that we get given by the Fed. We haven't got a clue what's going on. We'll just play it month by month. So there's nothing off of FOMC that was any indication of anything, which is why we didn't get any movement. So this overnight news, there's an awful lot of news about crude and oil, because obviously everything is worrying. Everybody's worrying about oil. So there is a bit of instability in oil at the moment. So we had a gap down this morning on oil. So we've pushed back into the gap. So this gap fill here is where I said would be the buy, which is what I've got on. We've gapped down again this morning, so I'm expecting a push up this morning initially. But now that gap fill's done, if this is going to be a pullback long, this is where we're going to start this move from. So any kind of push down into a double bottom today should see some buyers entering the market there, because that's where we gapped up. The main upshot of the news, there's a couple of other bits from the Fed here about we might hike if the data says so. So it's like saying if the sun comes up, we might sunbathe. Doesn't really help us, does it? So yeah, so that's basically oil news overnight. There's been a lot of talk to go through. There's lots of talk continuing this morning from Russia, from the Saudis about oil. We've had a little bit of news from Japan. Their PPI figures came out worse than expected. Their PPI year on year is down, which is a negative for Japan. Apart from that, not an awful lot else. We've had the GDP for the UK this morning, which came out as forecast. So that is a 0.2 on a 0.2 forecast. We were at 0.6. That shows the UK is not entering recession, or unlikely to enter recession, which is bullish. So good for the pound, bad for the yen overnight, but not a lot of movement. So if you look at the yen pairs, we haven't really gone anywhere on any of that news overnight. We've had a little bit of a spike up on that one. US dollar yen, very stable. Nice MPAT and reversal gain in there potentially. And the pound this morning, not really any movement. We've had quite a bit of volatility come in on the pound, but no real direction. So just kind of grinding away. So the main news today, we've got 5 minutes to the open. Main news today is the CPI figure this afternoon at 1:30. This is the big one. So this is what the Fed was saying yesterday back here. further rate hikes could be warranted depending on the incoming data. This is the incoming data, the inflation figure. So we are forecasting a year-on-year decrease in inflation, which would be bearish for the US dollar. Month on month, we're forecasting a drop, which would be bearish. The core, we're forecasting an as expected, which would be bearish. So we wouldn't be bullish. So everything we've got that is forecast for a bearish move on the US dollar. Obviously, we've got to achieve those forecasts to get that bear move, but they are looking at these figures being down. So the unemployment claims they're looking at going up, which is bearish US dollar. So every piece of news we've got this afternoon is pointing towards a US dollar drop. Obviously, we've got to achieve them. If they come out higher than expected, that isn't bearish. But there's still an indication that the market might have a negative reaction, even if there is positive figures. So you get a whipsaw up and then a drop, because it is all starting to go that way. So it's an important one today. If they come out as lower than expected, i.e. we get a 3.5 year on year and we get a 0.1 on the month or something like that, you can kiss it goodbye. We're looking at 150 ADR plus today. So big moves on the US, but we'll see. Obviously, the news is the news. We don't know what it's going to be until it comes out. So you just got to prepare for the volatility. That's 1:30. So we'll have a look at that in the US session at 2:20 this afternoon when I come back on. DAX this morning, we've got a massive gap up on the DAX this morning, like a proper big gap up. We gapped up more than a quarter of an ADR, which is a big one. So the market rallying away this morning, which again, this is what happens when we have a weak US dollar. The stock market tends to fly. So this is another indication, the DAX opening up this morning, that there could potentially be some kind of movement. The other reason the DAX may be opening up this morning is because it's got an awful lot of industrial in it, the same as the Dow. And we've had some, obviously, that news on oil, and that tends to help industrial stocks as well. So there's a few reasons why it might be popping. But today, if we break to the downside, there's your target. So when we hit that gap fill, we're probably going to jump back out of it. So if we do get a break short today, adjust targets to the gap fill. Upside potential today on the DAX, kind of go anywhere you like, really. So we're above that high. We've got this high here, which is the previous week's high, but that's kind of just where we started the week and dropped all week. But that is a previous resistance, support rather. Yeah. So that turned into resistance and we bounced away from it. So upside target, you're running straight into, in fact, that 155, that's something I've drawn in, isn't it? I've drawn in. So this line here to the upside this morning is a very strong previous support. Yeah. So that's 155.60. So watch this area somewhere around here. We could find some limits triggering at that level, because if the market obviously couldn't get through there was strong buyers in this area wanting to keep price up. They tried again, and then the sellers overpowered them. They tried to get back. The sellers pushed back down again. So all market participants that are short from this area have tried to add into their sell positions. They have driven price lower. So now we're coming back up to the battleground between the buyers and sellers at this level. So there could be limit orders sitting at this area. And also any market participants long that are looking to take profit will look to take profit at a logical area they're going to get pushed back from. So good potential support, resistance. So not far to the upside. Downside, you've got plenty of room. So we will see where we go. There we go. Markets open. Pretty whippy one yesterday on all indices. I managed to come out of yesterday with a 0.87% loss. Pretty good, considering every single instrument yesterday hedged me. All four hedged me yesterday. Got out of it with 0.87 loss. Pretty damn good result, considering the market yesterday. So, yeah, good day. Overall, I'm happy. If everything goes wrong on every instrument you trade and you come out with just under a 1% loss, you've got to call it a win, haven't you? So, yeah, very, very slow markets yesterday at the opens. All the opens were like slugs, weren't they? So, right. So we'll see where we go. While we're waiting for it to go, which it isn't very much. If you're trading the opening range breakout EA, you will have taken, if you've taken the pre-market 15, you are short. Pre-market 15 was too tight today, so the stock index hedge EA has chosen the 25 to trade. A little bit bigger. So targets TP1, I'm going to move up to gap fill, which is only 1.5 hour today. If we get that upside, that's tricky. It's so close to that line, isn't it? I mean, if we break to the upside and hit, we're just going to get hedged on it. There's nothing we can do. So, or stopped out, depending if you're using stop losses or not. But so while we're waiting for that to kick in, there's no ADRs today at all. So all the overnight news that we've had come through with oil and everything, there's nothing hit ADR. We've got a weekly. It's the first weekly. This week we are on Thursday. So US dollar Swiss has hit its weekly range. So going back to Monday, there's your high. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Weekly range on this is 129. We've put in 136. So good potential pullback because we've done our normal weekly range. Doesn't mean it can't go further. Bear in mind, obviously, we've got the news at 130. You've got a lovely resistance coming up as well. So this previous resistance, 4 times we hit that, bashed through it, used it as support, propulsion move. So good potential pullback zone here. This is where that accumulation, the buyers broke through it. So if they are still long, debatable whether they are still long, but if they are still long, people will be looking to add to the positions there. But yes, there's nothing on the ADRs. RSIs is a few to look at. We'll go through those in a minute. So there's your pre-market break on the 15-minute pre-market range to the downside. So target gap fill. See where we go. Not really going anywhere. Morning, everybody else. I haven't said morning to. God, blah, there's a lot of people in there. Marco. Can't say your name. Fooley. Morning, Neo. George. Bradley. Gregors. John. Ismet. Lisa from Ultro. Morning. Are those stats just the SIHEA? These, yeah. Swiss yen, we'll have a look at that in a sec. Morning, David. Morning, Martin. Sarah, xrupdate.news. Morning, Harold. Morning, somebody in Russian who's typing in Russian. I'm not Russian, or whatever the language that is. I have no idea what language that is, but whatever it is, I have no idea what you just said. Could have just sworn at me. I don't know. Morning, Antoine. Swiss yen, while we're waiting for this to move. Come on. It's not the ideal break today, but we'll see. The 5-minute ORB today is probably going to be, I mean, the 5-minute ORB and what the SIHEA is actually put in is pretty much the same thing, isn't it? So break of the initial 5-minute opening cash balance is probably a decent break to take today. Doesn't look particularly quick, does it? Swiss yen. So all these yens basically have all pulled back from the intervention and gone off on their own way. So that just shows you that this move, there was literally no buying back into the yen. The US dollar yen is being held down by US dollar weakness at the moment. So we've got US dollar weakness, we've got yen weakness, as you can see, which means that the US dollar yen is going sideways. A week against a week equals a sideways movement. So Swissy obviously pushing up. There's a couple of RSI extensions you might have taken on this on the hourly. I didn't get triggered on these. There's one potentially there and one potentially in there. So if you're in this short, I mean, you've broken back out of these highs. So we're waiting for some yen strength to come through, really. But you've got nice resistances coming up. This whole zone at the highs here, look. So this is last month's high, previous month's high. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, whatever attempts at that area, and they couldn't get through. So we've had a very strong rally on this. By the time we get up into there, if you look at this on the 4-hour chart, I'd imagine we'll look at this as an extension in a minute. Yeah, we will. If you look at it on the 4-hour chart, we're due a pullback on this move. So we should get some kind of pullback coming on that at some point. So it's a good looking short opportunity, 4-hour RSI extension above the 80. So we're looking for shorts on it. Long term, it's long, obviously. But we know that because the yen's been weak for months, all year, basically, which is why they've started talking about interventions, because they can't take anymore. So good looking short. Oh, my God. Christmas trees on the DAX. So there's your 5-minute opening range. Pink lines here. So if you've taken the pre-market, you've triggered short. If you've taken the post 5, you're not going anywhere at the minute. Inside bar at the moment. Still got 2.5 minutes left on this candle, so we could still get a break. But if that's an inside bar, it shows there's no volume today. Because it's CPI day today, we quite often find on any large news event, especially in anything to do with inflation and interest rates, obviously they are the largest fundamental movers we have. So on those days, the market is always very reluctant to enter lots of volume. Just because there's no point in starting speculative positions when there's a possibility that the entire fundamentals on what you're trading are going to shift. So you'll find you get an awful lot of that sort of movement up until the news event. And then obviously the news event will either be a shift or not. And if it isn't, and we're going, well, that doesn't really make any difference, that's when they'll start to dump their orders anyway. And you get a move regardless of whether the news is impactful or not, because they've been sitting sideways waiting to execute orders all day, and they do them after the news. So the news is always used either as a fundamental reason to do something, or let's do something because we haven't got a reason to, and we need to get rid of all the orders we've stocked up all morning. So there's always a movement around it. So we might find we just get sideways today on the DAX and all FX really until we get some news this afternoon. So a little bit of strength potentially coming through on the US this morning. Not a lot. Swiss franc, again, strong Swiss franc today. Not a lot of movement on anything else though. So everything coming down against the Swissy this morning. So Swissy's the main thing being moved today at the moment. Again, lots of money starting to trickle into the Swissy. Conflict, worry, problems, stick it in the Swissy. It's always safe there until they get involved in the Russian conflict. Then it won't be safe there and they'll have to put it somewhere else. Morning, Antoine. Morning, later on. He said morning all. Okay, cool. I'm glad I've got a translator in here. How grumpy are we today on a scale of 10? 0. I'm not grumpy. I'm never grumpy. I may come across as grumpy because I tell it like it is and no one wants to listen to me, because everybody wants the happy, positive side of buying a Lamborghini when you're trading. Maybe that comes across as being grumpy, but I'm never grumpy. I'm always making money, so I'm never grumpy. Oh, humbug. Right, sellers stepping back on board. So looks like the market wants to try and go short at the minute. There's a big buying spike comes in. So that's an inside bar. So absolute indecision in the market this morning. There's no directional bias whatsoever. So looking for either a break of that inside bar or a break of the outside bar. Yeah, off we go. But in a minute, no volume. Oh, we'll have to do something else. US dollar yen and oil joined slightly late. So yeah, US dollar yen, I'll go through my positions basically. So we can see what's going on. So US dollar yen, obviously, we are still sideways after the intervention move. Totally sideways at the moment. Really just want to get out of this now. My P&L is just getting weaker and weaker. So I'm going more and more into drawdown, not because this is moving further and further away from my average, because my swaps are building. So I've been sitting in this now for got in there, didn't I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is day 8 now of me sitting in this, waiting for some kind of movement. So obviously swaps are building and US dollar yen is expensive to hold. So if we get negative US today and we get down to ADR or something, I will probably get rid of it. My TPs I've just put back down to the bottom of the intervention spike, which is 175, 200 ADR. If this news comes out as really bad today with inflation, and inflation has like really dropped, then we may get that. It's unlikely because we haven't got any yen strength at the moment. So to get a 200 ADR move, you kind of need really bad news on something, and you need the other thing to be fairly strong to be able to push it twice as far. We are not getting any yen strength at the minute, so I can't really see it happening. But I will probably get out of this today with whatever if I can. If it pushes, obviously I haven't got a choice. I'll scale in. But it's just costing money at the minute just to hold the position. So I don't know. Oil. So took second on that yesterday. On the gap fill, there's your gap fill. Just about complete. There we go. Gap fill's complete on oil. So that's the gap fill down and that's the gap fill up. So we'll see where we go with oil today. It's Thursday. We don't normally have inventories on a Thursday, but today we do because we had a bank holiday. So at 4 p.m. today, we've got oil inventories. So when the crude inventories come out, it doesn't matter what they come out at. They can come out as negative 200 million or positive 200 million. It makes no difference whatsoever. They just use it as a catalyst to drive the market. So when the inventories come out at 4 o'clock later, we'll get some movement on oil. Hopefully it's positive. But there's a big question mark over oil at the moment. The reason I'm in this position is because I like the pullback on the rally. We're targeting $100 a barrel, but I'm also anticipating oil prices going up because of the conflict that's kicking off now in Israel. So we've got Russia and the Saudis now potentially restricting oil flow. They already are restricting oil production, but now there's other things that could go into that mix, which will drive the price of oil up. If a conflict kicks off in a much wider scale, we need an awful lot more oil because that is what powers military. So we'll get more demand, restricted supply equals higher prices. Also, we get restricted flow of oil because you get pipelines getting burst, you get countries restricting flow through specific areas because they don't want to supply areas. So you tend to get a spike on oil if it kicks off. If it doesn't kick off, obviously, there is a possibility we could return to origin. So I'm watching this level very, very closely. This gap up is what I am expecting to be the peak formation low here on that pullback. And I'm expecting market structure now to start to rally to the upside. If it doesn't, I will start to get out of some of this, because if it breaks this level, we've got that, which is 175 ADR, is the point of no return. That's 61.8 retracement, 71.9 retracement on that move. 61.8 probably. 61.8 that'll be. So that's a decent retracement. Look, 61.8. Yeah. If we break that, I think there's a good chance of coming back down and retesting. This is exactly what we did last time, wasn't it? The entire year, we've just been retesting this 65 to $70 a barrel. And then we get up to 80 and then we come back down. And it's just been flip-flopping. So looking for that move back to the upside. If it doesn't happen, then I will start to scale out of some of this. But we will see. DAX inside bar. So this is now a 2 IB setup. So it's a 2 inside bar. So there's your 5-minute initial cash balance. There's your inside bar. And then your inside bar on an inside bar, which is a 2 inside bar, which is just broken to the downside. In a normal circumstance, you would expect as soon as you get a break of a 2 inside bar setup for the market to flush. But obviously today hasn't got anybody wanting to actually place any orders. So we're still inside bar on the initial 5-minute opening range. Almost kind of want to just cancel the orders off this morning and just go, nah, that's not happening. But we might get a quick run for that gap. So not going to be particularly profitable, but there we go. It's having a go. A lot of movement. We'll watch that later. So yeah, so that's oil. So positions I've got on, I closed out 1.18% yesterday, which was pound US dollar, did DD control on the pound US dollar. So closed out 2 positions in nice profit, did 3 drawdown controls that averaged around about 0.85, 0.9%. I also closed out New Zealand dollar Swiss. No, I didn't. That's my live positions. I closed out Euro dollar Swiss. Euro dollar? What the hell am I talking about? Euro Swiss. Do this for a living, you know. Break even. So this one I got in going for the gap fill. As I said yesterday, I didn't like the way that bounced off of that resistance. I didn't like the way we got the double top off the resistance. So I decided to break even the position. It came down. It took me out yesterday at break even, and it's still there. So I'm happy I got out of Euro Swiss. And Euro New Zealand I got out of yesterday. A little bit early, but that was the H1M5 mean reversion entry. I'm always up for getting out next day. If I can get 3/4 of a 1/3 of a percent to a 0.5% within 24 hours, I'm having it. So straight in, straight out, nice, easy day. And I was looking at that resistance potentially as target. So this propulsion gap, if you remember, not quite sure which, this must have been in the London session. I said this lot, but that propulsion gap there was my target to the upside. We hit this area here and we started to bounce, which is why I said, right, okay, next time we break through it, I'm going to put a trailing stop on it. And it broke through and came straight back down and trailed me out. So that was my target. That's where we were. There was absolutely no point in letting this potentially run back to a break even, take the money, run. So I did. So that's what I closed out yesterday. Oh my God, look at this DAX. So bought up the lows of that initial cash balance. This is massively seller heavy, look. I mean, we opened short. We tried to push up, the sellers stepped in. We tried to push up, the sellers stepped in. We're trying to push up. The sellers want this down, don't they? This is a gap fill today. Yeah, every single buyer that enters the market is getting squashed. However, there isn't enough to move it out of the break. So it's getting short at some point, isn't it? When it's made its mind up. So that's the positions I've got on at the moment. I've got Aussie dollar Swiss as a long off of the H1 entry here. Just hasn't worked. Basically, we got that propulsion gap, which we tested and we tested and we tested and we finally tested and broke away from. Yeah, the buyers are stepping in all the time here, holding this, but they're just getting run over at the minute. We've just broken that low. So we've got this little support area down here, which I will be adding a second position to if it gets down there. In fact, will I? Not sure that's even far enough. Need 30 something. Oh yeah, it's 50. Yeah, so that's an ADR. So it's an ADR down to there from my initial position. So I'll be getting into a second position there if we get any continuation movement down. The Swiss franc's pretty strong at the moment, so there's a good chance of getting down there today. So I'll get in there, average in, wait for a push back up into propulsion. CAD Swiss, have 2 on that one at the moment. Again, I have no problem being long on CAD because of oil, but oil obviously is dropping at the moment, which is weakening the Canadian dollar. The Swiss franc is rallying at the moment because people are pulling money out and putting it into the Swissy because it's safer. So this is just the perfect storm of current market conditions. So just got 2 on it at the minute. We'll add a third as and when if we get pushed down today. Pound US, my friend, the Pound US, who I've been in for pretty much the entire year. It's taking so long and so hard. Look, it's trying so unbelievably hard to be along, and it just is having a beautiful run, but it's not even putting ADRs in. It can't even get an ADR run. The up days are slightly up. Yeah, it's just ever so slightly up. All it's able to do. It's being very polite about its movement. I'm just worried about the US powering up and destroying it. But today is news day. If we get negative news today on the US dollar, we'll be up here and I'll be out. Finally. And we're looking for a pullback on this monster run. So propulsion. New Zealand dollar Swiss. I was going to say I was going to get ready to bank that today. It's just all retraced. So this one basically is a short on Swiss franc strength. It's pulling back a little bit at the moment. Target is propulsion. I think the ultimate target really is achievable is here. So we've broken this weekly low now, or we're trying to. So this might be an area we start to buy back up into that area there. So if we're going to continue market structure, yeah, we're looking for something like that. So this is my target, top of this propulsion gap. But eventually, I don't see any reason we won't be getting back down to the origin of the Swiss franc move. On the news, US dollar yen we've already covered and oil we've covered. So that's basically the portfolio at the moment. Come on, DAX. You can do it. I almost want to hit the sell button just to help it along. Go on. Need a weight, don't we? Okay. Put some weight on it. There we are. That helps. Always helps. Stick a weight on top of it. Always helps it go down. If you need it to go up, stick a rocket underneath. I'll leave that there because otherwise it won't go down. That's a pain. Now I can't look at the dashboard because if I do that, that weight won't be on top of the price anymore. So we're going to have to leave it there. So I'm short on the DAX. So that is my break on that low there. Oh no, I've deleted it. It's going to go back up. Oh well. CAD Swiss, RSIs. Been a bit of a boring week, isn't it, this week? Look. Wednesday, triple swaps. Yeah. Get out of my short on at break even today. You even get a short on? Yeah, it was. The market's not moving. Get out. Come back later. How much padding are you allowing out with the ranges for entry in the ORB? A bit. Bigger than the spread. So with the opening range breakout strategy, I basically put enough to cover the spread. So my spread is very small. It's usually sort of somewhere between, it's either kind of 10 to 20 pipettes. Yeah, so 1 to 2 pips, points, whatever you want to call them. So I go with 3, basically. So the normal spread is that. An extended spread will be that. So I put it outside of there. So what I don't want, the whole idea of the offset is exactly what happened here. So this is a perfect example today, look. Yeah. We tap into areas we've recently tested. Yeah, so double bottoms. Yeah. So the whole idea of the offset is that when you hit that level, you will have a spread. You don't want to get in on that spread. So just make sure whatever your typical spread is in your broker, which will be different, and it's not always going to save you, but if it saves you once a week, it's done its job, isn't it? From a double bottom. So that's all I do is just slightly outside of it, whatever your broker is. Yes. Is what it is. You may get gathered, you may not. They may widen the spread as well. Don't forget, obviously, one of the broker's main tools is the spread widening button. So when they get down to a level and they can see that by spreading by another 1 or 2 pips makes them X amount of dollars, they'll do it. They'll just press the widen button when it gets there, and they'll grab your order. Whether if it's a stop loss to take you out, you're dead. If it's a pending order to get you in, you're in. They want you in. They want you executed. Every time an order is executed, they make a commission. Their job is to get orders executed. That's their job. Yeah. If I execute 1,000 orders a day and I make 10 cents an order, I'm going to make more money if I execute 2,000 orders a day at 10 cents. Yeah. How they make money. Yeah. They make money on spread, commission, and swap. Yeah. The only way they make money is if you press the buy and the sell button. If you put a pending order into the market and you don't actually trigger it, they don't make any money. So they want you in. They got tools that shows them the different levels and the different price points. In their software, there's a grid. And that grid has monetary values at each level. Yeah. Which is basically either order execution commission or profit. And the profit is basically for all the A-book customers that they've taken the opposite sides of your trades on. So if you get stopped out, they make money. Yeah, that's what they do. It's their job. So that's the reasoning behind the offset. God, this is like pulling teeth this morning, isn't it? Right, let's have a look at the RSIs. CAD Swiss. Let's start there, which I'm on already. Such a question. If my DAX works 22 hours a day and opens at 1 a.m., how will the robot place orders? It places, what do you mean? In exactly the same way as it does. Sorry, I don't understand the question. Doesn't matter how long your instrument trades for a day, does it? It trades at the open. Yeah, the EAs, the opening range breakout EA and the SIH EA only trade at the open. Yeah, if you've got 1 hour of data or 19 hours of data, you won't have 19 hours of data because obviously can't have more than 7 hours of data because it opens at 8. But if you've got 1 hour or 8 hours of data or 7 hours of data, it's irrelevant, isn't it? That you're taking a break of either the small range before or the initial cash balance. Unless I've misunderstood the question. Conspiracy spread widening button. It's not a conspiracy. It's just their job. That's their job. They're a broker. Their job is to, right? So you're like, think of it like an insurance broker or a pension advisor. Yeah. They can advise you on insurance and pensions. Unless you take out insurance or a pension, they don't get paid. Your broker's job is to go, here's a price I can get you. Would you like it? And if you say no, they don't make money. They're a broker. In exactly the same way as all brokerages work. They are a intermediary that puts you in touch with who you want. In this case, we want order execution with the market. They provide it. They only make money when the button is pressed, i.e. you say yes. Not a conspiracy. That's how brokerages work throughout the entire universe. Well, I don't know about the universe because obviously I've never been there, but throughout the world, any kind of brokerage works in the same way, doesn't it? That's what a brokerage is. You never think of it like that, though, do you? You just think about this chart in front of you, but behind the scenes, there's a company making a load of money out of you. DAX has no gaps. Well, that's fine. If you've got pre-market data, you've just got pre-market data. So look at the close yesterday and look at the 7 a.m., which is when the exchange opens. And you can draw yourself a little line there saying that's where my exchange opened. That's where the exchange closed. If you've got a load of data in between here, just ignore it and go, right, there's a gap there. Or get a broker that's got gaps like Forex. But the odds are still the same of a gap being filled. They don't necessarily get filled the same day. Yeah, look, we've got one here. Hasn't been filled. Yeah, so if you had data from there all the way down to there, you wouldn't have even noticed it, and it didn't get filled anyway. So there's no edge in having it necessarily. But if there is a gap up from where they start trading electronically to where they finished trading electronically, there are people offside usually, or institutions offside. Whether they write that off as a loss or don't will depend usually on the size of the gap and whether or not there's enough participants in the market to get them back to the area they want to get to. So, but I've talked about this before. That's my theory. There's thousands of theories. Well, there's not thousands, but there's lots of different theories. Everybody's got a different way of looking at things, and some people don't believe in gap theory. It's fine. The people that don't believe in gap theory will be longing it. I am shorting it. For every trade, there's got to be two participants, one disagreeing with the other. Otherwise, you don't get any movement. So it doesn't matter, does it? CAD Swiss. So yeah, long on that one. That's extended on the 4-hour RSI to the downside. Yeah, so extended again. Divergence there. So price pushing down. Relative strength of the two currencies sideways, ever so slightly up. Good wicks. So lots of nice upside rejection on this one. So if you drop down in 15, you've probably had a reversal alert this morning. Only just about to get it. Literally just about to trigger a reversal alert there. You probably have actually had one this morning. Actually, no, you don't think you have. This would be the first reversal alert this morning. So on the 15-minute, Swiss yen, we've looked at this one already. So this is a 4-hour RSI extension over the 80 level now. You definitely have had a reversal alert on that. Oh, no, you haven't. 15-minute, you're just about to get the reversal alert on that one as well. There you go. So sellers starting to step in. That's also extended on the hourly, the Swiss yen, only just, but it is embedded. So again, divergence in play. Yeah. RSI is down, price up, bearish divergence. Euro yen, again, extended to the upside on the 4-hour, just because of this yen weakness that we've had. Lovely resistance here on this euro yen. So this area here where we pulled down, we had this propulsion move put in where we broke that level. Sellers stepped back in twice. Yeah. And again, and again, and again. They're not letting this area go. We've just broken it, literally just broken it. We haven't got out of the whole area yet, but if we get up into that propulsion gap, the amount of movement and strength it's taken to get through that level, which is a very strong resistance, means that they'll probably be fairly exhausted. So if we can get into that propulsion gap today, get a little bit more movement up, we should start some selling pressure, some pullback on that move. So we've also got a nice monthly resistance coming up at ADR today. So, but don't think any of this is going to happen really until this afternoon, until we get the news. Pound yen also extended. So all these extensions are yens. I'm not taking any of these, even if they get extended on the hourly. I've got the EA, the market reverse alerts EA, turned off at the moment on all yen pairs. Because I've got that US dollar yen short and I don't want to take any more unnecessary exposure on the yen. I don't want to just get overexposed on it. So all of these shorts on all these yen pairs, I think, are absolutely fantastic setups because I think there is more intervention going to come from this yen. But it's going to be reliant on the US dollar. So if the US dollar drops, there won't need to be any intervention. But if the US dollar drops, they will put money into the yen anyway. Either way, this yen should strengthen. So I think they're all good sells, but it's when it's going to happen. So that's nicely extended. So you've got the Swiss yen and the pound yen both, over the 75 level. I was looking at it thinking 80. Over the 75 level, so that's a really good extension. I'm looking for a pullback on that if it is going to travel back to the upside. And then the US dollar Swiss 4-hour we've looked at, that's extended to the downside. 15-minute reversal, that's just gone in on that one. So good looking long opportunity there. Can't tell if that's the Swiss franc weakening off, isn't it? Yeah, because my New Zealand dollar Swiss has started losing profit, isn't it? So that's a Swissy weakening. But yeah, so there's your RSIs. Not many, but there's a few, and most of them yen based. I'm not expecting a huge amount of movement until later on today. DAX on its way to the gap fill. Like a slug. So I'm not going to get any more greedy than 1 and a bit R today. Just get something in the bank, basically. Got to get there, yeah. And then I will hold the second position if we can get there. Running into here. This is a really good previous resistance look. So that should definitely turn into a good support, I think. If we can get there, but we've got to get down there yet. Just not got any legs, is it, today? It's going to be a slow, grindy one. Might take an hour and a half to get down to that gap fill at this rate. We're, what, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 minutes in. And we've literally done like quarter of an ADR, if that. So that's all I've got for you today, this morning. Anyway, there's nothing else to look at. We're waiting for the news. So it's all about the news, basically, today, and waiting for that CPI figure to come out this afternoon. So 1:30 this afternoon, it's all going to, if it doesn't kick off because of the news, it will kick off because we've had the news. So we should get some decent movement this afternoon. Whether it's going to be bullish or bearish, we'll have to wait and see. Tomorrow, we've got Bailey speaking. So he will be speaking off the back of that GDP figure, and we might get some indication as to more interest rate rises on the pound. So we could get some decent movement on the pounds tomorrow morning. That's an hour after market open. And we've got University of Michigan tomorrow. So apart from that, that's it for this week. It's been a very lackluster week, which we were kind of expecting. It all kicks off next week with earnings. So for the next 3 weeks, we've got earnings fortnight. It's kind of 3 weeks, but they call it earnings fortnight. So nothing on Monday, but we are kicking off on Tuesday with Goldman, Johnson's. Then we go into Netflix, Tesla, all the big names. And then the week after, that's the big one, the last week of the month. That's where we get all the big companies like Facebook, Google, etc. So we're going to get a lot more volatility coming through in the stock market at the opens and pre-market next week. There is a bit starting on Friday. We've got JP Morgan and a couple tomorrow. So got Delta Airlines today, pre-market. So that we'll get much off of that today, but we could potentially get the volatility starting tomorrow. So hopefully things will pick up over the next couple of weeks. JC, I've not finished the SIH video yet, but like today with the DAX, can I take profit at 1.5 R on a short with the long cancel? Yeah. So basically, you can adjust these. I do cover that in the video. So adjusting this TP1 here, basically what the logic of the EA is, as soon as you hit TP1, long pendings are cancelled because we've achieved our goal, our target. Long pendings are automatically cancelled. Your second short position is automatically broken even with the offset. So whatever offset you had, in my case, it's 3 pips. It will offset 3 pips to cover your commission and stuff. So basically, you just break even basically on that second position automatically. So as soon as it hits ATP, regardless of which one it is, it doesn't matter. Basically, you know, what you could do if you really wanted to, for any reason, is you could go, actually, I'm going to put that one there, and I'm going to put that one there. It doesn't matter as long as one order hits its profit target. The logic in the EA kicks in to protect your capital, protect the second position, and then it will also, the trailing logic starts. So the trailing logic doesn't start until you've TP'd. Yeah, that's right. That's how I was toying with the idea of having it working before. I can't remember actually. Did I do that or not? I'd have to have a look at the logic. But basically, you don't start trailing until you get where you want to be. Yeah. But that's the whole point of it. You know, if you want to let it run on full auto, that's fine. You know, but as you know, with me, everything I build is to make my life easier, not to make me not work. This is still got to be looked at, analyzed. I'm looking at this today thinking, if it doesn't move in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to shut the whole lot out and walk away. The EA can't make that decision. I can, because I can see this thing's just not got any legs today. So it's just not tradable, is it? So you have to make those decisions. You can program all sorts of logic into EAs and say, look, if we haven't moved more than a quarter of an ADR by the time we get an hour into the session and we've got positions in profit, shut them and walk away. You can program that logic in. But then do you want that logic to trigger at half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour and 15? And do you want a quarter of an ADR or a third of an ADR in profit? Or do you want it even if it's just in a loss slightly, just to shut it out? I don't know. It's going to be different every day, isn't it? That's your decision, discretionary decision as a trader to make. You can program logic, but logic is what you program it. If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So, you know, I'm watching this now thinking, I just don't like this price action. It's just not looking like there's enough sellers on board. I can walk away with $250 and do something else this morning, right now. Tempting, because I'm struggling to find a way to get to target. You know, and target is $670. I can take a third of that now and probably break even on the second part anyway, which means I'll bank 300 odd. So I can either walk away with $400 total now, or I could bank 350 and break even on the second part. That's what's going through my head at the moment. Contemplating. EAs can't contemplate. They just do. So that's why, you know, everything is manually adjustable from a TP perspective. And the logic is when you hit that, regardless of where it is, I've put it there. If you move it to there, I'll do what you tell me to when I hit that. That's the way it works. Now it's looking a little bit better, but on days like this, it changes candle by candle. You know, one candle, oh, this looks good. Next candle, this doesn't look good. This looks good. This doesn't look good. Like it's just like it was at the open. It was like, oh, look at the bears. Oh, look at the bears. Oh, hang on a minute. There's a load of bulls. Oh, now the bears have taken control. Excellent. Oh, hang on a minute. Now it's not looking so pretty. You know, days like this, you just think, screw it. Take the money. But I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. But what I should say is I'm going to give it 10 minutes. If it's not where I want it to be in 10 minutes and I've still got profit on, I'm getting out. I need a shower and I've got to do other things. Can't be bothered. That's the other thing about EAs. They are always bothered. They can't say I can't be bothered. I'm going to shut down and I'm going to go off and play a game. Just see if there's any other news come through this morning as well. Global oil demand will increase by 2.4 million barrels per day this year. So again, confirming increased demand. If supply remains restricted, that will price up. That's this year as well. So in the next 3 months. Chancellor Scholz, Hezbollah must not enter the fighting. They already have. They've already shot rockets from Lebanon into Israel. So they have already entered the fighting, but I think they're meaning ground troops there. This has got the powder keg at the minute. This could kick off at any time. If it does, we're going to get a really good spike on oil. So there's your gap fill done on oil this morning. So we're now free to do what we want. Go on. If you can just pop your little head down through there, and then we'll get a little flush. not the most enthralling stream in the world, is it, really, today? Anybody got any jokes? We need something else to do on days like this, don't we? It's not moving, is it? I can't be asked, honestly. Oh, now look, hang on. Let me draw you a little line, Price, that you can use to cross. Yeah. So if you just pop your little head down below that level for me, yeah, we'll get a load of sellers enter, and we can pop down to yesterday's high, and then I'm just going to shut this out because I really can't be bothered with you, and I'm going to go and do something else. What do you call a woman with one leg longer than the other? Peggy. I don't know. Eileen. Good one. That's really bad. What do you call a man with a spade on his head? Come on. That's not the answer to the joke, by the way. Doug. Oh, Outro knows all the good ones, look. Oh my God, look at this. There's just no volume. I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to close that out with half. Yeah. So as you can see, EA's just stepped in, shut the pendings, moved break even second position, 300 banked. Now it goes, look. So I'm going to put TP2 at the gap fill, which would be $600. So that banks me $1,000 this morning. That's pretty much all I'm going to get today. So that'll either just close out the second position for 50 quid, or we'll get a decent move down. But I get the feeling if we do get down to this gap fill, the trouble with this gap fill, and the trouble with all gap fills, is they're not exact. So I can put my TP there, and what it might do is bounce off of any one of these wicks you see on the screen. This area is the previous resistance. Could be absolutely anywhere in that box that we get a bounce from. I put my TP there, and it pops off of yesterday's high, which is that candle. And then it just comes up into rotation, and then we stay in rotation until 130. So there's just no point in sitting here hoping we're going to get an immense flush. It might just suddenly come to life and collapse for some unknown reason. But at the minute, it's just like pulling teeth. We're pretty much 50 minutes into the session, and we haven't done a quarter of an ADR yet. So it's just not even worth it today. So when days like this, you just got to knock it on the head and walk away. What's the difference between mashed potato and pea soup? Anyone can mash potato. I don't get that one. What's the difference between mashed potato and pea soup? Anyone can mash potato. Anyone can pea soup. No one can pea soup. No one can pea soup. I haven't heard that one. That took a while, that one. That's like a child level below me to get that one. Oh, that was bad. That was really bad. We should start a new segment, shouldn't we, in the live stream? Stupid joke minutes. If we do it on quiet days like this. Outro, I had a new roof fitted on my house the other day. When I asked the builder how much it was going to cost, guess what he said? It's on the house. Good one. I need a wah, 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 wah as well. I need some buttons, don't I, for this? So that managed to literally, it took all the effort in the entire universe to get about a 3-point move out the bottom. of that 20-minute range there, and it's immediately popped back in. So get rid of it today. It's not worth holding. I'm not actually a dad, before anyone asks. Yeah, that is definitely a dad joke. Calling it. I can't even be bothered to wait for that to stop me out of break even. I'm 90% sure it's going to stop me out of break even. So banking 667. If it comes down and hits it, whatever. It's $350 less today I've made than I would have done if I'd have sat here for another 20 minutes and had my teeth pulled out. So yeah, that's DAX done. Just for those interested, yesterday, so that's basically made back pretty much what my loss was yesterday. So the trades yesterday, obviously had to manually intervene yesterday. So we got hedged on all the DAXs yesterday, all the US indices yesterday. So the open was really choppy, got triggered on a long, then got triggered on the short. Price just did not move. And then we had at 7 o'clock last night in the UK, we had the FOMC, which was 9, which was there. So that's where FOMC came out. And basically for 10 minutes after FOMC, when the FOMC report is released, they have to consume that information. Why do the Irish have potatoes and the Arabs have oil? Don't know. Irish have potatoes. Do the Irish have potatoes? Potato. No. Get the answer to that one in a minute. So when we had the FOMC, the market needs time to digest it because it is literally a report. So you have literally got to go, right, let's read the report. So everyone skim reads the report and goes, right, okay, that's important. That's important. So the market digests it. You then either get a big move or you don't. Normally that big move is just a continuation. And that's exactly what we got yesterday. So after FOMC, I saw price pushing up. So I decided to exit the shorts in the hope that we would get a move strong enough that I could exit the longs, which we did, thankfully. So got into a second long with the aggressive exit strategy and closed that one out with about, I did actually post this to someone who asked yesterday. There we go. I can show you the screenshots. Actually, it's easier. So that was the S&P 500. Closed out with $411 on that one. The Dow, pretty much the same thing. So I actually closed this one out before the news in anticipation of a spike in either direction. They then pushed down, pushed back up again, and then got out the same. So the Dow basically made $900 on that one. And then the NASDAQ, as you can see, I left this one a little bit longer to push up because I was waiting to see if the others would hit the target, basically. So as we pushed, I exited the shorts with a very small loss and just waited. And the idea was I was just going to close out regardless. So this may have turned into a loss, this one yesterday. In fact, it did turn into a small loss, I think. Yeah, $315. So $315 loss. So basically that just closed out end of session. So yeah, so that was those three yesterday. Just 3 hedges because we had that really whippy, nasty open that just didn't go anywhere. And then we got a very, very small move. So this entire move yesterday from the open, look, was 2,000. So it's half an ADR. So literally we only got half an ADR, less than half an ADR of movement yesterday. And then we literally returned to the open. So it just didn't move anywhere, did it? So tricky day yesterday. And it's obviously proving very tricky today as well. So why do the Irish have potatoes and the Arabs have oil? Because the Irish had first pick. Oh, yes, it's an Irish joke because they were stupid and they could have picked oil. Jovanovic, gold. The there's no point in looking at gold. Well, I can look at it for you, but there's no point in analyzing anything on gold because it's going to do what this afternoon? Move in the opposite direction to the US dollar. So we are either going to drop on the US dollar strength or we're going to pump on US dollar weakness. Don't know. What's the US dollar going to do this afternoon? That's the question. Could go either way. You got a nice previous technical level coming up, which is a previous support monthly. So that's a monthly low, which is coming up now. You've also got that level there potentially, which it could push to, but it doesn't matter about technicals this afternoon when the CPI figure comes out. If it does come out as forecast with a negative, we'll get a rally on gold. So I'll be watching for around about a 125, 150 ADR move to the upside. If not, and the US dollar strengthens, we'll be doing a gap fill. Don't know. What do you call a man with a seagull on his head? Cliff. I knew that one already before I even saw the... These are really crappy old English jokes, aren't they? These are the ones you get out of Christmas crackers. They're that bad. Should do a daily Wordle on slow days. Yeah, we could do a Wordle, couldn't we? I've done a Wordle for a while. Right, there we go. That's it. So made a bit on the DAX, but it's going to come down and fill this gap. I'm pretty sure it's going to fill this gap, but it's a case of, is it worth $300 of my time? Not today. No, I'd rather just do something else. So, there you go. What do you call a fly without wings? A walk. That's quite good. I like that one. That reminded me of a llama joke, but I've forgotten it. No, it's gone. Can't help you on that one. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I can't. Anyway, enough of the jokes. This is a joke today, the DAX. What do you call an instrument that doesn't move? DAX. Right. I'll be back this afternoon at 2:20. We'll look at the US session. Obviously, we've got the news this afternoon at 1:30. So all going to kick off at 1:30 this afternoon, hopefully. If it doesn't kick off at 1:30 this afternoon, it will kick off shortly after because they'll be holding positions this morning. So yeah, we'll look at obviously what the fallout of that is later this afternoon at 2:20. If you're not around this afternoon for the New York session, be back tomorrow morning at 7:50 same time for the Frankfurt session. We will have, it might be a tricky one tomorrow morning because we've got Bailey speaking. I don't think the Europeans will hang around for Bailey, but the euro and the pound do move off of Bailey's speech because we are very close trade partners. We've also got Lagarde speaking tomorrow afternoon, so I think we'll probably have a normal session tomorrow. So today, obviously, is just hanging around for that. So I don't think we'll have anything to hang around for tomorrow. So fingers crossed, a bit more excitement. Yeah, and I'll just be monitoring the positions today and seeing how we get on with the everything else. Just waiting. So just to leave you on Outro's final really bad joke, what did the atheist beaver say when he died and went to hell? Well, I'll be damned. Damned as in D-A-M-M-E-D, not D-A-M-N-E-D, because beavers build dams. Right, that's enough of that. I'll see you guys later, if not tomorrow morning. Have a good day.